Welcome into the weekly Main Street Media TV High School Football Wrap-Up Show. We're going to be checking into all corners of Middle Tennessee where our sports editors and reporters will share with us how each team from Main Street Media coverage areas did on the football field last week. If you're seeing this in Middle Tennessee, the chances are that Main Street Media has a newspaper that serves your community. Go to MainStreetMediaTN.com to find the local Main Street paper in your area, and when you find it, you may just sign up for a subscription to keep up with all the news and sports coverage we've got lined up for you. Okay, let's get this week's high school football wrap started, and we'll head over to Wade Neely in western Middle Tennessee.
What's up, folks? Wade Neely here. I'm your sports editor down in Hickman County, Cheatham County, and Dickson County, and it's time for an update on our area teams in Week 4 of the high school football season. And we'll start with the game that I was at Friday. And, man, it was an emotional one Friday night as the Daniel Greer Memorial Axe was on the line. And it was Harpeth defeating Cheatham County 17-6. This is a trophy. This is a rivalry that mean a lot to these two communities. As a 2003 Harpeth graduate, it was Daniel Greer, who then later becomes enlisted as a Marine and unfortunately was killed overseas in Afghanistan. But while he was stateside, he was also a member of the Pegram and Ashland City Fire Department. So he had allegiances, as it were, on Harpeth and Cheatham County's kind of sides. But very cool and very touching to see him honored year after year with that memorial axe. Cheatham County also, in addition to all of that, was dealing with a tragic situation as a member of their student body tragically passed away Friday morning in the overnight hours. And coming into the game, our thoughts and prayers are with the family of Zachary Keaton, who again is gone, unfortunately. So Cheatham County was dealing with a lot, and head coach Gary Halstead said as much. They fumbled 4 times, said his team was emotionally kind of all over the place, in addition to the rivalry game, but certainly with the loss of one of their classmates. Meanwhile, statistically, it was John Michael Neely, 19 carries, 132 rushing yards, and a touchdown for Harpeth. We also saw Gunnar Orange, though, with the big night, the only Cheatham County touchdown as part of his 10 carries for 81 yards. Meanwhile, speaking of yards and speaking of touchdowns, Sycamore lit it up, folks. The War Eagles are a little ticked off, and they took out their frustrations. 78-6, they walloped Stewart County in their region opener Friday night. It was 15-0 after the first, 43-6 at halftime, and again, 78-6 was your final score. Cody Scalf, 9 of 14 passing, was the War Eagle quarterback, 173 yards through the air. He had 4 different touchdowns passing. Yes, passing. Sycamore throwing the football now, folks, so buckle up if you're game planning against the high-flying War Eagle offense. But steady dose, as always, of Hicks Hunter on the ground, one of the greatest rushers in the history of the state of Tennessee. He did what he does best, 7 carries. Light night for him, but he had 164 yards and 3 touchdowns as Sycamore cruises in that big win. Finally, I'm going to tell you about Hickman County, and things unfortunately have fallen apart for the Bulldogs after a great start. That Week 1 win up at Harpeth, they have fallen on hard times, and they're now 1-3 after suffering a 37-7 defeat to Lewis County down in Centerville, and hopefully Coach Smith and the bunch can get things turned around because they were flying high after Week 1. So an emotional-filled week for a lot of our area teams, and we're approaching the midway mark. So week number 5 will be coming up. I'll give you guys an update on all of the Week 5 matchups later in the week. But for now, enjoy your recap from Week 4.
Thanks, Wade. Casey Patrick is also in western Middle Tennessee. Let's go check with him.
Hi, my name's Casey Patrick. I'm the sports reporter for the Dickson Post, Cheatham County Exchange, and the Hickman County Times. I'm going to give you a quick rundown in just a few of the games that were in my coverage area. Last Friday, I went to go cover Dickson County at Henry County for the Battle of the Barrel. Cougars got down early, and Henry County just kind of left them behind. 44-0, big win for Henry County. Creekwood was on the road at Stratford. Creekwood went into the fourth quarter with a 17-7 lead, and Stratford was able to come back and get the 31-23 win. And then East Hickman on Thursday night got a 44-34 win over Forest. East Hickman running back Micah Godfrey was just short, 10 yards short of the school record for yards in a game. Interesting part from that is Coach Chris Austin, when he told Micah that he was just 10 yards short, Micah looked up at him and said, "That's all right, Coach. I still got more time." So I thought that was awesome. Eagles, again, with a 44-34 win over Forest. That's just a few of my games from the coverage area last week. Y'all stay safe out there, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Casey. We've got some amazing sponsors, so let's take a moment to hear from them.
He shoots, and he scores!
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
Welcome back. Northwest Middle Tennessee is up next, and that's where we're going to go find Calvin White.
Hello everybody, this is Calvin White, Northwest Regional Sports Editor for Main Street Preps. Here to give you a quick recap of all of the Week 4 high school football action in Montgomery, Robertson, and Houston County. We're going to do it a little bit differently this week. We're going to start over in Robertson County, starting with Springfield. Springfield moves to 4-0 with a 55-35 win over Station Camp. Yellow Jackets quarterback Kason Woodson was 14 for 18 passing for 316 yards and 4 touchdowns. It was a big night for the Springfield offense. They scored 55 points, and along with Kason Woodson, standout wide receiver and defensive back Jermaine Cobbins catches 6 passes from Woodson for 125 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Running back Lamarius Dowling also carried the ball 12 times for 137 yards and 3 touchdowns. Springfield moves to 4-0 with their win over Station Camp. East Robertson also moves to 4-0 with their 27-7 win over Portland. Quarterback Kason Young, wide receiver Cade Brooks, and wide receiver Zavion Groves also all rack up over 100 all-purpose yards in the Indians' 27-7 win over Portland. They hand Portland its second consecutive loss. White House Heritage beat White House 15-12 in the first Rotary Cup rivalry game since 2022. White House Heritage running back Cale Hunt rushed for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns in the win. Joe Burns picks up their 3rd win of the year. They beat Todd County 56-24. Quarterback Clay Woody threw 4 touchdown passes in that one. Whites Creek beats Greenbrier 40-6. And finally, our final Robertson County game of Week 4, Innovation Academy gets its first win in school history. They beat Lookout Valley 14-13. Over in Houston County, the Fighting Irish beat Wayne County 39-14. Running back Preston Mitchell rushed for 217 yards and 2 touchdowns on 17 carries. And finally, moving into Montgomery County, Clarksville beat Overton 35-14. Running back Avari Galbraith carried the ball 16 times for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns, and quarterback Caden Pledger threw 2 touchdown passes. Kirkwood beat Northeast 28-12. Cobra's running back Josiah Claybrooks carried it 22 times for 163 yards and a touchdown. Quarterback Miles Redding added 2 rushing touchdowns. He was also 12 for 18 passing for 154 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. And we're going to do things a little bit differently this week. For the rest of your Montgomery County scores, we're going to kick it over to some sports communication students from Austin Peay State University. They're going to be helping us out a little bit this year with covering games around the county. So we're going to flip it over to them for the rest of your Week 4 Montgomery County high school football results.
My name is David Parks, and today I'm here at Simpson Field at the Clarksville Academy Complex, where the 2-1 Clarksville Academy Cougars host the undefeated Nashville Christian Eagles under the lights. The Eagles ran away in this one-sided affair with a dominant 58-0 win over the Cougars. The Eagles set the tone early in the first quarter with big plays both in the air and on the ground. By halftime, the Eagles had already built a commanding lead and they didn't stop in the second half. Nashville Christian's quarterback, number 5, Tate Mathis, led the offense in fashion with 4 passing touchdowns. The Cougars fought hard for momentum, but the Eagles' pressure was too much for them to handle. The Eagles' defense was anywhere the ball was, which caused trouble for the Cougars. With this huge victory tonight, the Eagles remain undefeated on the season, and the Cougars fall to 2-2 on the season. The Eagles build on their confidence moving forward, while the Cougars look to bounce back in their next matchup on the road against Friendship Christian. Again, the final score here at Simpson Field, Nashville Christian Eagles 58, Clarksville Academy Cougars 0.
Hello, I'm Colin Washington. I'm here at West Creek High School where they are playing the Kenwood Knights. West Creek Coyotes are 0-3 overall and 0-1, ranking 4th in their district, while the Kenwood Knights are 1-2 overall and 0-1, which puts them 2nd in their district. With 3 minutes remaining, Vidarius Haymans for Kenwood recovers the ball off of a punt that hits off a West Creek player and scores. And then with less than 2 minutes to go, West Creek muffles a snap and gets a safety. Your final score of the game, Kenwood Knights 11, West Creek Coyotes 0. Kenwood Knights move up to 2-2 for the season, while West Creek goes 0-4 for the season, still looking for a win. West Creek plays Rossview next week at 7 p.m. at home again, while Kenwood travels back home to face Pearl-Con at 7 p.m. I'm Colin Washington reporting.
Friday Night Lights in Cunningham. Montgomery Central hosting Northwest in a hard-hitting matchup. Both teams looked to the ground game early. Central moved the chains with steady runs, but Northwest DeMarcus Andrews answered with chunk plays to set the tone for the Vikings. Colson Odie connected with Grant Odie through the air, but Central's defense stepped up. Braden Santavallelag jumped the route for an interception on the return. That was their story early. Yards gained, then drives stalled by penalties and tough defense on both sides. Finally, though, Andrews broke through, cruising in for the game's first touchdown on a punt return. Quarterback Jackson Hazel showed off his arm with a deep completion downfield. A bit later in the action, DeMarcus Andrews broke free for a 61-yard touchdown run. Hazel had a strong night through the air, and Andrews was unstoppable on the ground. Central tried to rally through the air, making several attempts to move downfield, including these 2 completions from Colson Odie to Carson Lancaster, but their efforts ultimately came up short.
I'm Mario Bedingfield reporting from Rossview High School. Final score of this one, Hendersonville 33, Rossview 14. Rossview had chances in this game, couldn't capitalize at the end of the end of the game, as there were some mistakes and some turnovers on Rossview's end that stranded them from getting anything out of this game. And Hendersonville, 2 touchdowns by Aiden Meadows and 3 field goals in the first half by Gardner Olson, as Hendersonville rolled in this one from the outset. 33-14, I'm Mario Bedingfield reporting. Here's the field goal. Picked off. Oh. Watch 13.
Let's move on down to Southern Middle Tennessee and check with Maurice Patton.
Week 4 of high school football in Southern Middle Tennessee got started on a Thursday night this week as Columbia Academy went on the road to the Pit, taking on undefeated Lincoln County. Having lost their last 2 outings at Battleground Academy and at Pope John Paul II in Division II AA Middle Region play, The Bulldogs fell for a third straight week, dropping a 42-20 loss to the undefeated Falcons. Swinging into Friday, Ravenwood travels to Summit, and the Spartans take it on the chin as well, 50-0 against the Raptors, proving themselves to be one of the top Class 6A teams in the state, and understandably so, with a couple of FBS commitments at quarterback. Femi Babalola headed to Boston College. Maverick Chance headed to Navy. Both of them threw for touchdown passes, as did their backup. So loaded Ravenwood comes into Summit, picks up a 50-0 victory over the Spartans in Region 6-6A action. Also in Region 6-6A, Independence traveled to Shelbyville and fell late 31-28. Another narrow defeat for the Eagles, as the host Golden Eagles kicked a field goal late for the 3-point margin and picked off a Matthew Horner pass even later to preserve the victory, marring an otherwise fantastic night for Horner. 21 of 41 for 333 yards and 3 touchdowns. Also ran for a score in that loss for Independence. Again, Shelbyville 31, Independence 28 in Region 6-6A play. In Region 4-3A, Giles County goes on the road to Watertown, and with their top 2 running backs down, number 3 running back Xavier Hanna rushed for 112 yards and a pair of touchdowns, but it was the Purple Tigers outlasting the Bobcats in this one, 26-21, the final there. Also out of Giles County, Richland goes on the road over to Huntland in a Region 5-1A matchup, and Richland suffered a 21-7 loss to the Hornets. Second Class 1A loss for Richland, who lost in their season opener to Wayne County. They fall to 2-2 with their 2 wins over higher competition, winning 28-19 against Spring Hill a couple of weeks ago, a 4A program, and defeating Heritage 21-10, White House Heritage, a Class 3A program. So interesting how the Richland Raiders have gotten to 2-2 at this point, but they are 2-2 and they are 0-1 in region play with that loss at Huntland. Zion Christian falls to Grace Christian 42-7. It was Grace Christian's 4th straight win. The Lions undefeated at 4-0. Zion Christian 0-3 with the loss. Loretto goes over to Scotts Hill in Region 5-2A action, and the Mustangs pick up their first victory of the season, winning 41-6. Andrew Riley and Kobe Brown, each with a pair of rushing touchdowns. Riley finishes with 126 yards on the ground, and again, the Mustangs improved to 1-3 on the season and 1-0 in region play. Also in Region 5-2A, Mount Pleasant with a 21-14 win at Summertown. Peyton Niehaus with a 52-yard punt return. Caden McCrory with 82 rushing yards there for the Tigers as they move to 3-1 on the season and 1-0 in region play. Summertown drops to 0-1 in region play with that loss. Let's next go to Spring Hill, as Lawrence County did, and picked up a 21-14 win over the still winless Raiders. Lawrence County getting 229 rushing yards and a pair of touchdowns out of Carter Pettigrew. Lionel Brooks rushed for 136 yards and a touchdown, also threw for one for the Raiders, who remain winless with that loss. Lawrence County stays undefeated with the win. At Lindsey Nelson Stadium, it was a televised game as MyTV 30 showed Marshall County and the Lions as part of their Friday Night Rivals series, and it was a doozy. Columbia Central cuts the margin to 27-21 with right around 8 minutes remaining on Daniel Booker's second touchdown of the night. Marshall County holds the ball the rest of the way, 8 minutes and 17 seconds to be exact. Kneels it down at the end. Tigers hang on for a 27-21 victory on the road there. Again, Daniel Booker, 82 rushing yards, a pair of touchdowns, 190 passing yards, and a score, as the Lions were recognizing their 2024 and 2025 Athletic Hall of Fame inductees during the night. So not the game that you want to drop, but a tough one there for Columbia Central as they fall to Marshall County 27-21. Finally, shout out to the Battle Creek Grizzlies in their first season of varsity play, picking up a 28-7 win over visiting Moore County, their first varsity win. Sophomore Stanley Williams Jr. caught a 95-yard touchdown pass. finished with 4 catches for 115 yards. Defensively, he added 6 tackles, 1 for loss, and a pair of interceptions, one of which he took to the house, 50 yards for a pick 6. Again, Battle Creek 28, Moore County 7, the final there in Spring Hill. Congrats again to the Grizzlies. That's going to do it from Southern Middle Tennessee. We'll see y'all later this week.
Thanks, Maurice. Okay, now we've covered a lot of territory so far, but we're not done yet. We'll be right back right after this.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
When the arena lights dim for a concert, or when the crowd becomes one at a big game, you can almost feel like you're the biggest fan. But who's your biggest fan? It's the person that will get you home safely after a night of drinking. It's the person who looks out for your life to make sure you leave the stadium with someone sober. This could be a designated driver or someone who offers to get you a ride share. Because in Tennessee, fans don't let fans drive drunk. Brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, a division of the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security.
We are back, and we are ready to go over to Blaine, Kellar in North Central Middle Tennessee.
Sumner County football had some stat-stuffing performances from Week 4, perhaps none bigger than Beach quarterback Caden Powell, who with a third-quarter touchdown became the Buccaneers' all-time leading passer. North Central Regional Sports Editor Blaine Kellar here to give you scores and more from Sumner County, as well as our Nashville and Williamson areas after the 4th week of the Tennessee high school football season. All of this info can be found at mainstreetpreps.com. All of it can be found in print in the Gallatin News, Hendersonville Standard, Portland Sun, and Main Street Nashville. We'll start with a game that includes some Sumner and Nashville ties, that Thursday night game between Beach and East Nashville. The Buccaneers winning that one 22-19. Powell's pass to Jeremy Laster set him up for 2,778 career yards at Beach, helping him to surpass Nelson Smith by 3 yards to take the top spot in Beach's history. The Buccaneers still needed the defensive stop after an impressive passing performance by East Nashville, which was shorthanded. Dallas Covington completed over 300 yards passing and nearly had his team with the go-ahead score. But a late fumble recovered by Beach's defense set up the 22-19 final. Another game with Sumner and Nashville ties, the Division II AA Middle Region opener for FRA. This is another stat-stuffing performance, by the way. JP2 quarterback Isaiah Patton threw for 366 yards and 3 touchdowns, nearly helping the Knights knock off the Panthers, being a final score of 38-35. Patton had 3 touchdowns. His senior teammate Sam Bowers had 4. JP2 had a chance to take the win on the last play, but the pass was intercepted. Still a positive result, a moral victory maybe for JP2. And for FRA, the Panthers and quarterback Hudson Holman, who formerly was JP2's quarterback, moved to 3-0 and 1-0 in the middle region. Other stat-stuffing performances include another one in the loss. Station Camp fell 35-55 to Springfield, but how about junior quarterback Colton Overby, who had 391 yards with a handful of scores. That was an impressive performance, but the Bison suffered their first loss of the season to Springfield, which seemingly was a machine. They're a favorite in Class 4A. Gallatin trailed late in the third quarter before Jackson Stroup and the Green Wave woke up against Cookeville, winning that one 47-24. Stroup, the VMI commitment, completed 21 of 26 passes for 280 yards. He had 5 touchdowns. Gallatin moves to 3-0, has a big contest coming up, which you can catch on our preview show in a couple of days. Other results, Hendersonville and Coach James Beasley pick up their first win of the year. They defeated Rossview 33-14. Liberty Creek lost at Gordonsville 14-27. It was White House Heritage 15, White House 12 in the return of the Rotary Cup. The comeback win by the Patriots. Speaking of stat stuffers, how about Westmoreland winning 40-14 against Smith County? It's the Eagles stay explosive on offense. East Robertson coach Chase Brooks wins against his alma mater, that being a final score of 27-7 against the Portland Panthers. Now moving on to Nashville in the Williamson County area. Again, you can find this on Main Street Nashville and MainStreetPreps.com. Page's defense continues to dominate despite losing a few players that were Power 4 talents a year ago. The Patriots won 30-0 against Brentwood and really limited them, and probably could have won by more based on our story. Ridge Holman, the cousin of Hudson Holman, who we mentioned earlier, he led Davidson Academy to a 29-19 win over previously undefeated Goodpasture. MBA beats Christian Brothers. CPA falls to Ohio Power Archbishop Moeller as the Lions continue to struggle through a brutal season schedule. And how about the big one? Ensworth with a Division II AAA shakeup, taking down reigning state champion Macaulay. Huge win for the Hasselbacks, and that league seemingly just got a lot more interesting, especially considering a couple weeks ago Ensworth was on the wrong side of an upset against Nashville Christian. A wild week of high school football, and we continue to do that and expect the same. Entering the midway point of the season, be sure to stick around, read our stuff, and we'll see you for our preview show here in a couple of days.
Thanks, Blaine. Here's David Wilson in East Middle Tennessee to wrap us up this week.
Hey everybody, this is David Wilson, East Middle Tennessee Regional Sports Editor for Main Street Preps. Giving you a quick recap of all the Week 4 games across Wilson and Rutherford County this week. We'll start in Wilson County, where there were 3 region openers on the docket for Wilson County programs. We'll start with the main attraction at Danny Watkins Stadium in Region 4 6A, as the Lebanon Blue Devils moved to 4-0 for the first time since the turn of the century, and they defeated Mount Juliet by a final score of 21-3. The Blue Devils defense forced 3 turnovers in this one, 2 on defense with interceptions and 1 on a special teams fumble recovery, and their offense did just enough as they picked up the win. Mount Juliet dropped to 0-4 on its season. Lebanon got a scoring touchdown from Gian Azita on an 81-yard touchdown on the first offensive play from scrimmage, and they kept it moving, although Azita got hurt with a hip pointer injury in the second half and did not play. Another region matchup, it was Region 4 3A. It is the Watertown Purple Tigers picking up a 26-21 win over visiting Giles County. Dacio Carter of the Purple Tigers had a 1-yard touchdown run with under 2 minutes remaining as the Purple Tigers picked up their second win in consecutive weeks. And in the middle region here in Wilson County, it was Isa Harding picking up a 46-15 win over MJCA. Terrius P.D. Smith carried the ball 10 times for 203 yards and 3 touchdowns for the Eagles against the Saints. And quarterback Julian Murdoch was 6 of 10 passing for 160 yards and 2 scores as well. Mount Juliet Christian is still 0-4, moved to 0-4 in its season, still searching for its first win. In the game I was at, it was Wilson Central picking up a 12-3 win over James Lawson. Running back Chaz Martin goes over the 200-yard mark yet again. He rushes for 223 yards and 2 TDs in this one. Ripped off scoring runs of 55 and 49 in the second half to help the Wildcats move to 4-0 for the first time since 2019. In Williamson County, it was Green Hill rallying from a double-digit deficit to Centennial and defeating the host Cougars 37-35. Quarterback Kenneth Burrows was total 225 yards and 3 touchdowns in this one. He ran specifically for 18 times for 169 and 2 scores in that one. Zach Cartwright ran for 116 yards on the ground rushing and had 2 touchdowns as Green Hill racked up 325 rushing yards against the Cougars defense. Out in Smithville, it was DeKalb County handing Friendship Christian its first loss of the season. Final score of that one, 21-17. John Hendricks' 21-yard pass to Jesse Fouch with 1:22 remaining did end the Commanders in this one. Quarterback Blake Waldorf for Friendship Christian was just 11 of 18 passing for 133 and 2 touchdowns. Ryder Walcott rushed for 105 yards in this one on 28 carries and had 1 score. Moving on to Rutherford County. It was Cascade picking up a 24-21 win over visiting Eagleville, who slides in the Class 1A TSWA poll. It was Oakland picking up a 38-6 win over visiting Procone on Friday night. It was Smyrna edging past Siegel by a final score of 13-10. It was Rockville 31, Stewart's Creek 10 in that matchup. It was Riverdale all over Laverne Friday night. 44-7 was the final on that one. It was Blackman continuing its momentum of the season. Blackman 41, Nolensville 7. MTCS blanked Grace Baptist by a final score of 63-0. It was DCA picking up a win over previously one of the top 5 ranked teams in Division II, Single A. It was DCA 28, PCA 7. So that would do it here on the wrap up for week 4. Looking forward to talking to you guys next week.
And that is this week's high school football wrap-up show. Now, don't forget, Main Street Media TV has football-based shows for high school, college, and pros lined up for you this season. You can find everything you need to know on your local newspaper's social media pages or by downloading the Main Street Media TV app. And remember that Main Street Media Radio gets your high school football week started with our Thursday night game of the week audio broadcast featuring Wade Neely and Casey Patrick. They will be on the call all across Middle Tennessee this season, and you can catch them every Thursday night starting at 6:45 p.m. Also, set your calendar for our weekly high school football preview show featuring these same sports editors and reporters who are on the field each week sharing your favorite team's action from the sideline. The preview show is scheduled for every Thursday at 1 p.m. during high school football season. All right, that's it for this week. We'll see you right back here next Tuesday with the high school football wrap-up show on Main Street Media TV.